Hi, this is Mr. Ng going over the Geometry Chapter 3 test taken on March 20th, 2015. For problems 1 to 3, use this diagram. So it says given information P is parallel to Q, so I'm going to mark these parallel lines, and Q. Also M is parallel to N, and the measure of angle 1 is 129 degrees. What is the angle relationship between 2 and 3? So if you need to, you can just cover that up. Notice how these are on the 2 and 3 are angles on the exterior of P and Q, and they're also alternating of the transversals, so therefore they're alternate exterior angles. Find the measure of angle 2. Well, if I know this is 129, I can use linear pair. Blank plus blank equals 180, therefore this is 51, and therefore angle 2 is equal to 51 degrees because they're congruent. If the measure of angle 5 is equal to 5x plus 1, so I'm going to find the measure of angle 5. If they're telling me this is 5x plus 1, what is the measure of angle x? Well, notice between angles 3 and 5, if you cover up this picture, there you have one on the interior, one on the exterior, and in the same position. Those are called corresponding angles. Corresponding angles are congruent. So if this is 5x plus 1, this is equal to 51 degrees, which is my work here. And you'll get x equal to 10. 2 points apiece. Questions 4 to 5. You're using this diagram here. Notice how none of the lines are parallel. If 1 and 2 are supplementary, what theorem could you use to prove M and N are parallel? These two angles are on the interior. This is consecutive. Consecutive means next to or same side of the transversal. Same side of the transversal. That would be consecutive interior angles converse, or same side interior angles converse. You must have the word converse. If you just wrote consecutive interior angles, I gave you 1 point, took off a point. Question number 5, if angles 1 and 2 are supplementary, can they ever be congruent also? So if that equation is blank plus blank equals 180, the only two numbers which makes them identical is if they are 90 degrees. That's the counterexample. Use this diagram for questions 6 and 9. Use parallel, perpendicular, or skew. PA, so I have a segment there, and EA. Notice how they will intersect, therefore three-dimensional object, this will be perpendicular. CR and ED. This is the idea is that they are skew, which means they will not intersect. And they're not on the same plane. TP and AE. Notice how they're, you can even put 2 pens there and recognize that your lines are parallel. AE and RS. Again, this would come out there, down here. Those would be skew. Question number 10 didn't count. I just crossed it off. Question number 11. A blank is a line that intersects two coplanar lines. Essentially, if you can look down here, 2 lines, that's called the transversal. Question for 12 and 13. Use the above diagram for questions 12 and 13. Again, notice how you don't know if they're parallel. What is the angle relationship between these two angles? If you look at the angles here, that would be vertical angles. Can you prove lines M and N are parallel? Why or not? You can't, because there is no theorem or postulate that says that you could prove two lines parallel with vertical angles. That page was out of 24 points. Multiple choice, choose the best answer for questions 15 and 16. In the figure, measure of angle ABC is 136. Which statement is false? So if I know this is 136, GEF, which is down here, says is 136. I said that's true. Alternate exterior angles are congruent. It says DEF, DEF and ABC should be corresponding, which means this should be 136. Oh, sorry. DEF, that's this side. So if this is 136 because of corresponding, this side would have to be 44. And that would be incorrect. That's false. I also go through and don't make sure that both of the other 2 ones are true. Question number 15. based on the figure above, what can be proven? No lines can be proven parallel with this information. So the reason why if you notice these two angles here, it doesn't relate, it's not touching both, say, lines C and D, even on this direction. Do you see that? Or even in this way. So because you don't have any of these angle measures relating to just two lines and transversal, you can't prove any of the lines are parallel. Question number 16. Use this figure and the given information to determine which lines must be parallel. It says, given, I told the class that 1 is congruent to 3. So if 1 is congruent to 3, line N, so notice how it's the parallel, or did I say angle 5? Angle 5, sorry. Angle 1, it's the line to the transversal, line to the same transversal, line to the transversal, so that would be line L and M. Oh, I need to double look at that. Double check this question number 16. Corresponding angles. I have to double check which angle that I gave you guys. Question number 17. Find the value of x of the line S is parallel to line T. So here's S and here's T, and I know I gave 2 points extra credit because I'm not sure if I told you guys to cross that off. Measure of angle 3 and 7 are those values. So those would be interior, consecutive interior angles, which are supplementary. So if I do that, I get x equals 25. If you wanted to find the measure of angle 6, and if you did find it, I'd give you extra credit. If you cross it off, that's fine. That would be 25. Measure of angle 6 is the same as 7. So 25 plus 15 is 40 degrees for a measure of angle 6, and this is because a consecutive interior angle is converse. If x is 25, then it would prove that S and T are parallel. Question number 18. These lines are parallel, that's the difference. Supplementary, you'll solve to be x is to be 35. This is because if two lines cut by a transversal, then consecutive interior angles are supplementary. If you wrote the word converse, they give you a -1. So 1 point for setting up your correct equation, 1 point for solving for x, and 2 points for your justification. Question number 19 is a proof. Given 1 and 6 are supplementary, prove T is parallel to S, and you can't use consecutive exterior angles. So angles 1 and 6 are supplementary. That's given information. 1 plus 6 equals 180. That's definition of supplementary angles. If you look at our picture here, 5 plus 6 equals 180. This is a linear pair postulate. If you look at your two equations here, you'll notice that my substitution is every time I see 180, I'm going to write 5 plus 6. So I see 180 here, I'm going to write 5 plus 6. So essentially you're setting the two equations equal to each other. So here, I did my substitution. So now I notice that there's angle 6 on both sides, so I'm going to subtract angle 6. Those will cancel and you get angles 1 equals 5. When you look at 1 equals 5, you would prove T is parallel to S by corresponding angles converse. So out of that whole thing, that was worth 4 points. If you get a majority of it, I give you 3 points. Half of it, 2 points, and 1 point for trying. Questions 20 to 24 are multiple choice. Circle the correct answer. Find the slope of the line passing through points A and B. I gave you a coordinate plane if you wanted to graph it. Coordinate plane provided for your reference, so you didn't have to use it. I used the equation, label your points. I wrote down my format, always write it down first. Make sure that subtraction sign is always there. y2 value is -2, y1 is -3. x2 value is -5, and your x1 value is -8. -2 minus -3, that's a plus, so that becomes 1. That's a plus, so 8 and a -5 gives me a 3, so my slope is 1/3. Letter choice A. 2 points apiece for multiple choice. Question number 21. What is the slope of a line perpendicular to whose equation is 5x plus 3y equals 8? So in this question, you're going to have to put it in slope-intercept form. Subtract 5x, divide the whole expression by 3, gives you -5x, -5/3 x plus 8/3. And I notice that it has -5/3 as my slope of the first line. Now the key word here is perpendicular. So if they're perpendicular slopes, it means that when you multiply the two slopes together equals -1. I said that the first slope was -5/3. This is -5/3, so to solve for m2, I'm going to multiply both sides by the reciprocal, and that negative, so that's -3/5, so that becomes a positive, so the second slope is 3/5, their choice B. Question 22. A transversal intersects two lines. So here's an example. Which condition will always make the two lines parallel? Vertical angles doesn't, so I crossed it off. Corresponding angles are supplementary. That's wrong. Should be congruent. Same side interior angles are complementary. No, they should be supplementary. Therefore, B. Alternate interior angles are congruent. Question number 23. Based on the diagram below, which statement is true? So we're trying to figure out which lines are parallel. They give me here 110 degrees. They give one over here 115, 60, and 120. So essentially what I'm doing for each of these intersections is I'm doing linear pair. Linear pair means they add up to 180, and then vertical angles are the same. That's 60 vertical angles, linear pair equals 180. And then I'm going through, and then I'm going to check if I can do corresponding. For example, 60 and 70 are not the same, so I can't use corresponding angles converse. Same thing over here, 60 and 65. And the only one I can use actually is here, 60 and 60. Parallel line to the transversal, parallel line to that same transversal, that would be lines D and E are parallel. Question number 25. Given 2y equals 6x plus 12 and 3y plus x equals 15, determine if the lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So you just take each of those equations, put them in slope-intercept form, and identify your slopes. So I have a slope of 3 and -1/3. Those slopes are negative reciprocals of one each other, so therefore they're perpendicular. I did give you partial credit on this problem. If you got the two slopes, I gave you 2 points, but if you couldn't identify what to do with it, and I gave you 0 points if you had the correct answer, meaning you guessed but it had no work. Question number 26. Given the line is parallel to y equals 4x plus 5 and passes through the point -2, 4, write the equation of the line. So parallel means they have the same slope. So if your slope is 4, because in slope-intercept form, then my second slope is also 4. So I have 4 and a point. I'm going to use point-slope form. So there's my substitution for slope, substitution for my y value, and my x value. You could have written this in any form. So here it is in point-slope. If you want a slope-intercept form, distribute and then add 4. Standard form means you get x and y on one side. Link coefficient can't be negative. Question number 27. Graph the following function, y equals -2/3 x plus 3. So you have a y-intercept of +3. If you just got this point, let's just say you did positive slope, I gave you 2 points. Now this is essentially -2/3, so I usually count down 2, right 3. A rise of -2, run of 3. Or you can also say 2/-3. So that would be rise of 2, left -3. Rise 2, left -3. Question number 28, write the slope-intercept form of the equation of a line passing through point -4, 1 and perpendicular to the line 1/4 x plus 2. So again, I'm taking this equation here and then I'm just taking its slope, and the negative reciprocal will make it perpendicular is my key word, which would be -4. So I'm -4 and then my order pair -4, 1. Substitute that into point-slope form. X value is -4, y is 1. That'll become plus It does tell us specifically in slope-intercept form, so I'm going to distribute -4, and you get -4x minus 16, and then you add 1, you'll get -4x minus 15. If you got this slope here, then I give you partial credit to get 2 points. This side was out of 16, and therefore the test was out of 68. Hope this was helpful for you to be successful on geometry class.